Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 198 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we are diving in now. We're deep into the whole Puppet Master world, I guess.
We can't. There's no turning back now.
No, we're deep buried into Toulon's trunk at this point. But but yes, we got 4 movies tonight to go through. Although one of them is really a mini movie, so to speak, with only like 10 minutes of actual new footage. But we'll get into that in a minute. But I just wanted to promote one of our friends there, Money Music. It's MUNNY. She had written a song that got my attention back when Fear Farm came out. It's actually, she's friends with best friends with Tiana Tuttle from Fear Farm, and friends with our good friend Emily Sweet. And she just came out with a great new song that was featured in a movie, and the new song is called Energy. So you can find that on Spotify and iTunes. So definitely check it out. I had let her know that I heard it and I really liked it and checked it out. And she is such a nice person. She wrote back and said, "Oh, I appreciate it so much," and just she's a very kind, very fun person. She's got a great Instagram account too, and her songs are really great. So definitely give her a listen. Awesome.
I definitely will check that out. So Brian, I mean, how are you holding up for this Puppet Master marathon? Because this is a bit of a brutal franchise to get through. Because I wouldn't say it's as bad as Hellraiser, because I'm kind of a fan of this franchise. But the movies are not great. Let's be honest, they're not great, and there's a lot of them here to watch.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Here's the thing: it's like out of this batch. So remember, I had already watched. I had kind of skipped ahead to watch Puppet Master for Demonic Toys when because I wasn't sure for the opportunity for it would still be here, which it was, thank God for your sake, so you were able to watch it. So taking that out, I watched actually all of the other ones this weekend, along with actually I'm one ahead now. I'm about to go on to Axis Termination, which that series, that part is, so this is weird. So it's like these movies, this has like some ebbs and flows, this franchise. I think it goes up, it's like a lot of dips, and I think so right now where we are, I think we like, if we start at Retro Puppet Master, I kind of thought, I really like that one, even though I know that's kind of get mixed reviews over there, but I remember I really enjoyed it in the series, and I think I liked it more this time, even now that I know the whole mythology of it, and I realize where it really falls into the series in terms of the overall story. Then Legacy was weird. We'll get into more detail, of course, of these, but
yeah,
because Legacy is kind of like a best of. But as I told Tim, I kind of liked it where it was because it gives a good recap. Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys, I kind of already hinted on my feelings on that one, and that one just basically kind of went off the edge of these films. But then I kind of am starting to really get into this Axis trilogy. So it's leading upwards, and I'm actually really excited to see the next one, which was Axis Termination. So, I don't know if you're in the same kind of mindset of that, but we'll definitely, go into little details of the film. So,
yeah, I think our rankings are going to start diverging in this series. I think this franchise is so, I don't want to say divisive, but it's so, there's so many films, and depending on what mood you're in, can flavor like what you think of certain entries. I just think we're going to be a little bit divergent. Maybe not. I think we know what our top 3 are.
Yeah.
But after that, it's going to be kind of crazy. So it'll be interesting. Let's get into it.
Well, you know what? I will say one thing, just because based on that topic, I think one of the reasons why this series is so unique in ways to rank it is because the movies themselves, pretty much, if you look at it, kind of have. They're all kind of the similar core plot,
Mm-hmm.
The puppets are brought out for a reason. They have a kind of bring a battle towards the end, and you get to see a lot of cool puppet stuff. But I think where people, I mean, and this is my theory on it, and I could be totally wrong, but it's like I think it depends on which puppets you like and what you like them to do, because I think if you're certain fans of certain puppets, you will like certain movies more. Or
That
if
could
you
be,
don't,
yeah.
or if you really don't have a favorite puppet and you just like the whole thing as a whole, that could shape your love of the movies in the order they are. Because I mean, I'm kind of in between. Like, I told you a couple of my, I love Blade, love Six Shooter. But I mean, I'm kind of a fan of all the. I want to rank the puppets too at the end. Maybe we'll do like a special thing.
Oh, we
with
got to
this
do a
one.
puppet ranking.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we need to do a puppet ranking also. And I think I think because as the way the series go and you learn the backstories of some of the puppets, that kind of might change your opinion on things. So I think it's just there's so much going on in a series that really kind of has a lot of simple plots. Once you get past, I think 3, it really becomes kind of repetitive in a weird way. But they do it, but they're still fun and entertaining in a way. So I don't know. This is tricky. I mean, we'll get through it. We'll go through more of that as we go through each film. But
Yeah.
I mean, let's go back. I guess we'll go back again. That's the thing. It's like that's the confusing thing is this chronology of this thing is all off the. But like sometimes you can't. You almost have to like double check. Like, wait, did we know this already? I can't remember. Where does this take place? Because it's all over the place.
If you go to the wiki on the Puppet Master franchise, there's a chronological breakdown of every movie and where it fits in.
Okay.
And there is, if you look at the years as posted in the movies, and when they show the title screens and show what year it was, there is a mistake in when Toulon dies. Because in the first Puppet Master, very first Puppet Master, we learned he died in 1939. But yet in the later entries, we find out somehow he escaped, and it was into the early 40s before anything happened to him. So if you take away the years and ignore the year as seen on film, there is a chronology that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the wiki kind of shows where the year in the film shouldn't be. It should be updated. But if you go by the updated chronology, it actually makes sense. And that's why I kind of liked, well, we'll get into it. That's why I kind of liked seeing that.
And I don't even go by that, like, per se. Like, I don't go by the actual years. I just go by, like, which movie it goes before and which after. That's all I care about, really. I mean, I'm not going to go into, I don't care so much about the specifics. They're a little off. I mean, every movie's done that, I think. I think if you look at Friday the 13th, like, the way that went, I mean, God knows what year you're supposed to be in by the end of it.
But I think the weird thing,
X.
That's the weird thing with the Puppet Master series is it keeps doubling back on itself. Like, it's not just sequel in chronological order. It keeps going backwards, and then it will fill in gaps in time between movies, and it gets really, really confusing. But we'll straighten it all out for you.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Clone Wars series, like the original. Remember,
yes.
like with
where they're all out of order.
Seasons? Yeah, they were all out of order chronologically, and then eventually, by the end of the seasons, it caught up to where it was more linear in terms of the storyline. But yeah, let's get back. We'll go to Retro Puppet Master here. We got to get through these here.
Yeah, and I don't. Even though we have 4 movies, I don't think this is going to be like a super long discussion because these movies they're pretty straightforward to talk about. So the first one up is Retro Puppet Master, 1999, directed by David Decato, starring Greg Sestero as young Toulon, Brigitte Dow as Ilsa, Jack Donner as Afzal, Guy Rolfe as Elder Toulon, Sando Teodor as Latour, I almost said George Carlin.
I almost wrote George Carlin, but I think it's like you have to say it like you're from Brooklyn,
George Carlin.
Like George Carlin.
George Carlin as Valentine. Giuliano Doman as Vigo. Vlad.
It is Vigo. It is Vigo. You have to say Vigo like that. That's the rule. You can't just say Vigo. You got to say it is Vigo.
Vlad Dulea as Duval and Dan Fintesco as the Beggar. In the late 19th century, an ancient Egyptian sorcerer discovers the art of transferring the souls of the dead into inanimate objects. So this one, Brian, is kind of the opposite of Curse of the Puppet Master for me. If you recall, last episode I said that Curse of the Puppet Master I absolutely hated when I first watched it, and this time around I really enjoyed it. This one, I remember really enjoying Retro Puppet Master, and this time around I despised it.
Really? Wow.
I hated it this time around, and there's a couple reasons for it. Number one, the acting is probably, and I hate to pick on actors because Lord knows I couldn't go up there and do what they do. So, I know I'm being critical of something I myself can't do. But the acting in this one is probably among the worst in the series, which is saying something. And the other thing is although the retro puppets are kind of cool in a way, there's like some bad special effect. Like you can see the fishing line string on some of the puppets in these scenes. I mean, it's really sloppy. And there's a pattern I'm seeing with the Puppet Master movies I don't like, and it tends to be pacing. It's all about pacing.
Yeah.
I've been looking at timestamps as I'm watching these films, and the films I like the least, the puppets don't come in until about the hour mark, 45 minutes to an hour mark. And it's the same with Retro Puppet Master. It's this long build up, and you really don't get any action. When I say puppet, I'm talking about not them in a puppet show or sitting on a shelf. I'm talking about actual puppets doing things and killing people. It doesn't come up until at least 45 minutes to an hour into this movie. And the movies are only an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. So you're talking about, you're watching 2/3 of the movie before anything happens. And that's why I appreciate the lore of it. I appreciated the backstory. I like seeing the young Toulon. I thought that was cool. I actually liked all that part of it. But man, getting there was a challenge. This one was really rough for me to get through. And maybe that's why I ranked it a little lower, because it really just drug way out for me.
Well, the guy, Greg Sestero, that was who Dave Franco played in The Disaster Artist.
Yes.
And I noticed I included the one piece of trivia because James Franco actually auditioned to play young Toulon, and which was Greg Sestero's role, which is all kind of funny. The weird Tommy Wiseau universe that's mixed in there.
That's crazy.
But yeah, and actually I thought he was not bad in it, actually.
No, he was the highlight of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the weaker parts were his entourage there that were doing the puppet shows with him, and they were like, at first I was like, oh, maybe they're they're kind of bad acting on purpose because they're doing this puppet show and they're trying to do this. But then when they didn't have the puppets, they were still kind of the same kind of. It wasn't even bad. They were just flat to me. There was no emotion behind it. I thought the one that played Ilsa was great, though. I thought she was good. But the thing is, I think why I liked it is because this was basically the Toulon origin story. Like as far back as you probably want to go. Like, you can't go before that. You don't want like child Toulon, because it wouldn't make sense because he learned about it here. So this is about as far back as you're going to go for the Toulon character.
But explain something to me.
Find out where he went.
Explain something to me, because this is one piece of the chronology I didn't quite get. So do you remember? There's a part in Puppet Master 2, and I may have just missed something. There's a part in Puppet Master 2 where Toulon as an adult is a flashback, and he's flashing back to his time as a man, not as young Toulon, but as a older man, in his 30s or 40s, and he's putting on a puppet show, and then this Egyptian guy comes up and basically shows him the secret of giving puppets life. And I'm thinking, well, how does that fit into the chronology if he already knew about giving puppets life when he was younger?
That's called, they changed their mind.
Okay, I was just trying to see
it should be called Retcon Puppet Master. Forget Retro Puppet Master. It should be Retcon Puppet Master.
That's the one piece that they didn't fix. That's the continuity error they did not fix to my satisfaction. And I thought maybe I'm just missing something, or...
Well, now, what was the flashback in it? Could it have been the same time and they didn't have Greg Sestero and they used too much of an older actor? Was it in the same scenario where he was in Paris?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just confusing it because the actor was much older than the young Toulon in Retro Puppet Master. Maybe it's tended to be the same time period.
Yeah, because to me, is as long as it's in. Look at just what we just did with Evil Dead. How they, their whole weird continuity things. That was all the same. But if it's only.
I bet you're right, because that's where he fell in love with Ilsa.
Right.
Because Puppet Master 2 is all about him trying to bring Ilsa back. So.
Right. So that's to me though what. See, when I saw so when I saw Retro Puppet Master for the HorrorCon, that was when I had not seen really. I didn't remember which Puppet Masters I saw. So to me, it didn't until I watched it this time again that I realized that this is where he meets Elsa from in part 3 where she of course she you find out what happens to her really, and to the point of where you see the tragic demise of her. So I was like, oh, this is where he meets her, and it didn't dawn on me when I saw it like years ago for the horror challenge. So I'm like, oh, this is so that's why I think I liked it. There was a little bit more likability for me on this time around. But I mean, I see all the criticisms that you have. I think I had it too, but I think at this point I'm kind of so invested in the series, and since I had already seen this one, and I kind of remembered liking it fondly, it didn't. I think the added bonus of kind of realizing, oh, this is where he met Elsa thing, to me just enhanced it, and I kind of forgave all the things because I think I must have got over that the last time. Maybe, I don't know. And the thing is, I'm not disagreeing with your criticisms in any way. Yeah, the acting, other than I think the two leads, were pretty much, they were very flat. Right. But overall, I think I like the storyline of this. I like finding out like the whole beginning of Toulon. I like seeing the I'm a bit of a softie too. I said I like those romantic comedies. I kind of like the how you see how they met each other and fell for each other kind of thing. So and it just I think I just like the because I like 3 so much, and I think this was kind of a at some level really connected to 3 in a way. I don't know. Maybe that's why I just have a soft spot for it, so I'm a little more forgiving for that one. I don't know.
What did you think of the? I thought it was interesting that all the puppets were named the same except for Tunneler. In this one, he was named Drill Sergeant.
Oh yeah,
which is actually kind of a better name, but
yeah.
I was interested.
Why did they change it to Tunneler then? Eventually, did they ever explain that? There's so many things going on in this that you like. Sometimes I think I like miss something just for the fact that there's so much repetitive things that you sometimes, when a new thing gets jumped in there, you don't even catch it all the time.
That's why I can't wait to listen to the commentaries for these on our box set. Because
did they ever mention though? Do you remember them mentioning why they changed it?
No, and I know that in 3 we find out that Tunneler is one of his friends, basically,
right?
Because he put the souls into all of his puppets. And we know that was a guy that dug tunnels for the Nazis or whatever.
Yeah.
Or not for the Nazis, but against the Nazis. And so I'm wondering, I don't know why the name changed for Retro Puppet Master. It's just interesting because he was established as Tunneler when this movie was made. I mean, it's obviously we're going backwards in time. Why just that one puppet's name get changed?
And he put the soul in for that guy in this one too, right? So he did.
Yeah, so I don't understand why he was Drill Sergeant. And every other puppet was the same. It was Pinhead, Blade, 6-shooter.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It's really strange. I hope that's on the commentary.
Somehow.
Yeah. But
yeah,
I'm sure there's some
that
big Puppet Master wiki people that know all this stuff.
Well, there was one of a whole character wiki I saw.
Oh, there's tons of good websites out there about all the puppets and all the different. I mean, it gets pretty like in depth. I've tried not to read too much into it because I don't want to like flavor my rankings or anything. But I do plan to go back and read up on some of these. And there's also some lore in the comics that we don't know about. So I'm sure that's on the wikis and stuff too, where the comics have added to the lore. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, Retro Puppet Master, I don't know. It was weird. I remember, just like you, I remember really liking this one when I watched it for the horror challenge.
Oh, okay. So here, this is why, Tim, I just found it out. I'm sorry. I didn't know you didn't want to go through this, but it says one of Drill Sergeant was an unrelated puppet that Toulon would later design Tunneler after.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
It says, okay, so that's why. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Is like sometimes you miss these things because there's so much. There's a lot of repetitive things, and there's a lot of stuff going by, and you're like, it's easy to kind of miss like a line or two.
But that's what's so great about this franchise is that as kind of quote unquote dumb as the premise is of these little evil puppets, there's like this whole like backstory, and even though there's some continuity errors, they try to stick with it throughout all the sequels. I mean, it's a larger universe for a franchise that probably doesn't deserve that. in a way.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about it. I think that's what makes it charming is it is consistent to itself, which a lot of horror franchises are not. And even though this one kind of went off the rails with 4 and 5, it's they've always tried to rein it back in somehow. Yeah. And I think that's because you have Charles Band kind of overlooking all this. It's you kind of got a creative vision somewhere up there, high up, even though you got multiple directors and multiple writers. At least somewhere you kind of have this upper vision, sort of like the Child's Play franchise.
Yeah.
Where you kind of have somebody that's kind of overlooking all of it and trying to somewhat keep it on track.
Well, and like you said too, it's like it stays within itself, but it also follows its own rules. Usually, it doesn't really bend any of its own rules that some franchises have done. So I think just overall, it's surprisingly a solid franchise, even with all those little weird inconsistencies.
Yeah.
So, and it's an easy franchise to love, because I think the puppets are just, they're just so, to me, they're engaging. It's like, and for some reason, it's like, I know this is going to sound weird, but for lack of a better word, I always find it cute when like Blade will come running up and then he stops and then like they pick him up like he's a little toy. He's this little killing machine, but he just stands there with this like little look on his face, and they go and they pick him up and he's like, and he like talk, he's like, since he can't talk, it's just his mannerisms that he does. Like, I forget which one this is. I think it's in Axis. I think. Oh no, it's the one we didn't get to yet. But sorry, but I'll say it real quick though. It's Axis Rising, where he's asking what happens, and he's just doing these mimic things, like he's dead. Oh, it's almost like like Timmy's stuck in the well, Lassie. It's like that. Like there's this like. I don't know. There's something like that's like cute about this little killer puppet.
They're very endearing. They really are.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's what else? What else demonstrates that so much, and we'll get to it in these later movies. Is when the puppet is off, like looks off from the original puppets. You can instantly tell that that's not the original puppet, and when they introduce a new puppet, they're never quite as charming as the like classic puppets, like the original 4 or 5 that were in there. So there's just something iconic about them. I don't know. But let's get on to Puppet Master of the Legacy. This is going to be a really quick discussion. So Puppet Master of the Legacy came out in 2003, so 4 years later, directed by Charles Band, starring Jacob Whitkin as Eric Weiss and Kate Orsini as McLean. And the rest is pure archive footage. So the synopsis, I'll read it. Peter Hertz, who was rescued from the Nazis as a child by Andre Toulon in the 1940s, is now an old man and has inherited the puppets. He is pursued by an assassin who forces him to tell her the entire history of Toulon and the puppets. This is a clip show. I was actually a little surprised. I already knew that going in that it was a clip show. I was actually almost still surprised that it's really, I think it's 7 minutes of new footage total. And the rest is just repeats of scenes from the original movies, which as a movie makes this clearly like on the bottom for me as a Puppet Master movie, because it's just a rehash. Like I literally just watched these scenes that they were showing again. But from a chronology perspective, if you were new to the series or you had not seen it in a while, I could understand why watching this would be a nice refresher course in the whole franchise up to that date. So it does serve a purpose.
Yeah, and like I told you today, it's like I kind of appreciate it at some level where it is, because it's kind of like as we're getting deeper into this franchise, it's hard to remember everything, and it's kind of nice, like kind of right in the middle, you get like a nice little recap of everything. And it's kind of nice to find out what happened to the kid who's grown up now under a different name, but like you're like, oh, that's where that kid, what happened to him,
right,
kind of thing. So it was like it actually had like a little twofold thing. It like gave you where that kid, what happened to him, and it also kind of gives you a nice wrap up. Now it's funny where I'm wondering like if where this would have made sense is if because Charles Band directed this one, so when you say direct, it's very loose direct because he literally just put all his clips together and directed like a scene.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though, it's like this may have been his way. Like, I'm wondering if there was plans to revamp the franchise after this, but he's like, you know what? Okay, it's been about, 99? So it's 4 years since the last one. Let me kind of give a refresher to everybody. And this went straight to video anyway. This wasn't even like an attempted...
Right,
I don't believe this was attempted to ever be a theatrical thing. Just kind of like, okay, guys, remember my Puppet Master series. Here we go. We're going to catch you up now, so now we can move on. Now, the problem is the next one, and we can go right into it because we really don't need to say much about Legacy.
Yeah.
Other than watching all the footage. The next one, sadly, was Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys, which is not even an in-canon. I think it was a sci-fi original, and so it's like it really... It's more of like this like alternate, like almost a what if kind of a thing. And I will say this. I told you how much I did not like this movie. But I will say one thing. Based off the plot, I should have liked it. I love Christmas or holiday horror movies. So it had the right premise going in. It had a cool kind of an idea. Like, okay, we're going to get these demonic toys. You're going to get the puppets from Puppet Master in. They're going to have a battle. 2 fun franchises. But something about it was just so off. And I think maybe because, at some level now that I've seen so many of these and I'm really like loving this series, I took this as more of an insult to the series.
Well, let's go into the details about it before I give you my thoughts on it. So,
Yeah.
Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys. This came out in 2004, directed by Ted Nicolau, starring Corey Feldman as Robert Toulon, Vanessa Angel as Erica Sharp, Danielle Keaton as Alex Toulon, Sylvia Suvadova as Sergeant Jessica Russell, Nikolai Sodorov as Julian, Desislava Macheva as Christina, Felazar Benev as the mayor, Angelina Hadjimitova, geez, I can't read these names.
This is longer
as
than
Claudia.
the movie. You trying to pronounce these names?
Christopher Bergschneider as Bale. A group of toy makers seek to use Andre Toulon's formula, now in the hands of Toulon's great-nephew Robert, to give life to a line of killer toys that they plan to unleash on Christmas Eve. So, Brian, I'm afraid to say I'm the exact opposite of you. I really like this.
God.
I really like this one for some reason. Now,
A lot of people do. I don't know why I just didn't like it.
I will tell you why. So now let me start off by saying these are knockoff puppets. These are not the original puppets. You can tell they don't look quite right. They look like counterfeit versions. You know what they look like? They look like the like if you were in a collectible shop and they had like the Puppet Master dolls, but they weren't like the real expensive high-end ones. They were just kind of like the $25 ones. That's what these look like. So right off the bat, I did not like that part about it because I knew they were not the original puppets. But this movie, to me, unlike Retro Puppet Master, which was boring and took like an hour to get to anything, this movie was entertaining throughout. Like it had a lot of humor, even though the humor is questionable. But it had a lot of like, Corey Feldman had a lot of comedic stuff in there. You had the demonic toys, which I love the demonic toys. I love the puppet. I mean, they have the Baby Oopsie, which has his own series now, which I've got to go watch.
It's coming out now, yeah.
That bear, which is hysterical. I love the bear. And the Jack in the Box. So I love the demonic toys. I haven't seen any of the demonic toys movies, but I want to go track them down now. And it's got this. So this movie, unlike some of the bad Puppet Master movies, has this goofy full moon. Even though I think this was a sci-fi movie, but it has that same goofy, like really bad, so bad it's good full moon charm of like the evil ginger weed man or whatever those are. There's like, I've watched a few of them just because we have the streaming service. I've watched like some really bad like weed full moon movies, and even though they're so bad, like there's something entertaining about them, and I can't put my finger on why, because they're terrible. They're legitimately terrible, but there's some charm about them, and obviously people like them because Full Moon's in business. I mean, they're in business, so there's people that love this stuff. And I found that same kind of charm to this one, even though it was really dumb and really bad props and really bad special effects and everything. But somehow I really like this one. I don't know. I like seeing Corey Feldman again. I thought the demonic toys were hilarious. I don't know. I went into this one, and maybe my expectations were so low from you, Brian, that I just went in going, "Oh my god, I'm never going to make it through this," and then somehow I magically liked it. I don't know.
You know what though? I wonder if it also could be where I watched it, because I watched it after I saw the first 3, where the tone was very like dark. You know, it was a different series,
and it was still high quality.
Yeah, and now you jump to this, and you get the I don't know, the B-list puppets. I don't know what it is, how you want to say it, but the puppets didn't look good. So I'm jumping now from like Toulon's Revenge, which was my favorite right now of the series, I think, to this. So that may have been maybe I would have enjoyed it more if I would have watched it where it meant to. And the only reason I figured it didn't matter was because they said it wasn't canon. So I'm like, well, but then again, I think if I would have realized how back and forth this series went chronology wise anyway, I would have maybe just waited on it. So I may give this a chance again. Maybe I'll just watch it again now that I see where the series goes. But I will say I still don't, because there was a little comedy infused in the later. And not so much comedy, like slapstick, but there's this like cheesiness, especially if you start watching the Axis trilogy. Like we'll get into this when we talk about Axis of Evil. There's this kind of like goofy, like it's their attempt at those old 1940 movies, like with the hurrah kind of thing. So I think if I would have watched it, but even then it would have been before this. But still, I mean, even with Retro Puppet Master, there wasn't exactly comedy, but I don't know. I think it was like almost to the point of where I might have been able to settle into this one a little easier. I just think it's I think watching the first 3 and then watching this did this one an even of a detriment, because this one was like pure comedic, like Saturday night at the movies on sci-fi kind of feel to it, which it was. It was a sci-fi movie, so it had like you could almost see where the commercials were at the time. Yeah. Even if sci-fi, I don't even know if sci-fi does commercials anymore, but I remember at one point they did in the movies. They would actually have breaks.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if they
that.
still do or so, but like, so I'm always could see this, like, I mean, and to me it's like, I don't know, I felt like it could have actually been on like network television as a network television movie. There's just something about this that just didn't seem like it belonged in the Puppet Master universe to me.
Oh, it definitely, yeah. I mean, it's sort of like 4 and 5, and that it seems more like the Saturday morning cartoon adventures of the Puppet Master more than an actual. And it is not canon, so technically it's not part of the Puppet Master universe. But I think you're right. I think this just demonstrates our point of where we've said all along. Sometimes when you watch these movies really affects what you think of them. And a sequel that you see 3 years after the original might strike you differently than when you watch it back to back with the original, which is why I love these franchises, or these disc memorabilia, these summer SLAYCATIONs so much. I'm getting all my features, Civil War features.
Yeah, I know,
mixed
you
up.
got everything.
But yeah, my that's why I love these summer SLAYCATIONs so much, because we're forced to watch these all back to back to back, and it makes you notice things that you never would have noticed watching these over a period of 10 or 15 years. So, but yeah, after watching Retro Puppet Master, I was bored out of my mind, and then you put this like crazy Corey Feldman just ridiculousness in front of me, I kind of ate it like a kid eating a candy bar after he was sitting through a boring dinner that he didn't like, and then all of a sudden he's just given a bowl full of ice cream. I just thought it was goofy and fun. I don't know.
Well, and I liked the daughter's character. I thought she was funny. Vanessa Angel was so over the top, though. It drove me crazy.
Oh my god!
And I usually like her stuff in movies. I think she's pretty funny.
I could not buy Corey Feldman. I could not buy Corey Feldman as the dad.
But that's that's another thing I had. They look like they should have been brother and sister almost.
They tried to make him look old with like this weird hair, and then they tried to make her look young by putting ponytails on her, and it just wasn't working for me. They look like they were maybe 10 years apart.
I feel bad because Corey Feldman will always be a teen to me. I'm sorry. I can't, no matter how old he is. I see him now, and I'm like, he could play a teen. He looks the same.
He looks the same. He's one of those people that doesn't age. Like, he doesn't age on the same scale as other people. Like, Paul Rudd doesn't age. Paul Rudd just looks the same all the time.
Yeah, he looks like there was like two versions of Paul Rudd. There was like Clueless, / Halloween 6 Paul Rudd, and then the rest of them that looked like 2 years apart. That's it. And it's like, because he looked a little bit younger in Clueless and Halloween 6, but after that, he looked the same. And
yeah, Ralph Macchio never aged. I mean, Ralph Macchio clearly looks older than he did as a kid, but he still looks young for what his actual age is.
Right. Yeah. Like they could have easily. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, and so I think that's why, like, like there was just a lot of things I just couldn't buy anymore in it. But now I'm thinking, like, would I have liked it any better? Oh no, that's right, because it was the break. There was the legacy in there. I think if I would have seen this in chronological order, but in a way like, maybe at the proper distance from each other, I think maybe I could have accepted Puppet Master for Demonic Toys, because at that point, think about it. If I was watching these in order, I would have had a 4-year break between Retro Puppet Master and the Legacy one. And then I would have said, oh, you know what? I missed this series. I want it back. And then I would have seen Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys. Oh, I would have lived in the glow of the series coming back.
I'll tell you what.
But I think because I was in the middle of this, the glow was already there, and I didn't need to have a artificial glow. That whole thing. It's like, I felt like that with the Phantom Menace, where when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this might be the best one yet, except Empire Strikes Back. I love it so much. And over the years, I'm like, it's the one I like least out of all the movies for me. And I still love it because it's part of Star Wars, but as a movie, I have trouble when I do my full rewatches. I have trouble sitting through that one. Especially the worst was when, oh my God, did I even tell you this? We saw Julie and I and Mark went to go see it when they were supposed to release them all in 3D. We used Phantom Menace in 3D. The print was like dark, so the 3D wasn't even working that great. So it was a frustrating version, a more frustrating version of the Phantom Menace. And like I said, I still I love Phantom Menace because it's a Star Wars movie. But if I'm gonna rank Star Wars movies, it's always kind of down at the bottom. So it's usually the last one. And it's just, I don't know. It's like that. So it's like, I don't know if this would have how much the distance glow would have, the return of the series glow would have kept this in there. But where I saw it watching it immediately after 3, which I love so much, I just don't know if it ever had a chance.
Yeah, I could see that.
Imagine you watch this directly after 2.
Yeah,
which is your favorite.
I probably would have felt the same.
You would have been like, "What the hell is this?"
But you need to here's what you need to do: just let it marinate, give it like a couple months off, and then circle back around like Christmas time when there's Christmas in the air and there's. Well, I'll probably
like it then.
Yeah, maybe you like it because this is like.
I mean, cause look, Tim, I have told you how many times have I told you Ernest Saves Christmas is one of my favorite. Yeah. Not just Christmas movies, but movies altogether. And if you look at that as purely cinematical thing, it's what the heck is it? It's like, but I just love that
I will
movie
defend
so
Ernest Saves Christmas to the death. That's a great movie.
I will watch that. I watch it every year. There's times I've watched it multiple times in a week. I used to watch it all the time. I love that movie. I quote it all the time.
It's where I learned that if your hand gets burned, dip it in butter.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's sound advice, but I took it anyway.
It is. And I will say, I have to say, I know we're once again, I know David McHugh's probably there they go on these tangents again. But I will say that Ernest Saves Christmas had, to me, answered one of the questions for the mythology of Santa Claus that always never made sense to me. And we've discussed this, was same reason with Kurt Russell, and that's how the whole Kurt Russell thing is the sack principle. It's like the sack never changes size, yet there's supposedly presents in there for the entire world full of children. So the Ernest Saves Christmas made a great way to do it. It's like this just magical ball, and boom, it turns into the gift. So it's like this inner secret of the sack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done. Ernest Saves Christmas. Would have thought. But anyway, let's get back to, we're going to go back to the perfect segue into that and go into Puppet Master Axis of Evil.
Speaking of Nazis, Puppet Master Axis of Evil came out in 2010, again directed by David Decateau, who did he's the one that did Retro Puppet Master. And it definitely has the same kind of general feel to it.
Yeah, didn't he do Toulon's Revenge too? Did he do that one also?
I don't have it right in front of me, so
yeah, I thought he did that one too.
But yeah, stars Levi Feeler as Danny Coogan, Jenna Glaher as Beth, Taylor M. Graham as Don, Tom Sandoval as Ben/Max, Jerry Hoffman as Uncle Lynn, Erica Schaefer as Elma Coogan, Ada Chow as Ozu, Mike Brooks as Mr. Gifford, Aaron Reiber as Klaus, Zhangfu Zhang as Buta, and Gu Yingfeng as Nozoki Ya. During the Second
so
World...
he did do that one, by the way.
Okay, cool. So that's why they have a general... They all definitely have a feel to them. During the Second World War, a young man with the help of some animated puppets must stop the Nazis who attacked his family and kidnapped his girlfriend. So I will say with this one, Brian, I went into these later entries really optimistic because I thought, okay, now we're into the 2010s where, the series has gone through its highs and lows. Hopefully this is like another reboot where they're going to really get things right. And I started off really strong. I loved how they basically tried to tie in the original Puppet Master movie, which has kind of largely been ignored up to this point. But they finally go back to it, and they really tie in where you basically see Danny Coogan come across this, basically the aftermath of Toulon's suicide. So, and they did a really clever intercut between the original scenes of the original movie and then him like finding the body and stuff. I thought it was very clever.
Yeah. Although the actual the dead William Hickey
was definitely
prosthetic
not
afterwards.
Yes.
Oh my God, was that so
awful? That was
I don't understand like how it was. They could have solely got out of that by just not showing it.
Yeah, just don't show it. Just have his reaction shot. Yeah,
they did not need to show because it was so. I was like, okay, well, here's the new scene. But I will say, overall intercut beautifully. Like it was done so well. Like it was trying to think what there was something that reminds me of this where it was a movie that did this so well or where they like redid the entire first thing but then showed like you know what it was Back to the Future, the way they did that. Back to the Future 2, you know, where they had the a lot of the scenes redone and they interspersed it, and like where they saw Doc Brown go back to the future and then Marty comes running down the hill, stuff like that. Like I love when they like an alternate viewpoint of something.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and so I thought they did that really cool, and I liked how, you didn't even quite know that that's what it's going to be in the beginning when they were just talking about it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. He's talking to his uncle. They're talking about Toulon being upstairs, and then it quickly switched to that shot of outside. I'm like, oh, now they're going back. I see. This is cool. We're going back. It's kind of like a reboot.
You even saw Blade, running up to it was basically they replayed the intro of Puppet Master.
Yeah, it was a total intro to the franchise. So that's a nice way, and it makes sense too because this might have been the movie that should have come after, a little bit closer to after Puppet Master: The Legacy. Like remember I was saying, like, okay, you're gonna like, hey, remember this movie. Remember all these things. Here's where we are now. Okay, let's reboot this franchise a little bit. And they rebooted it without really truly rebooting it. They did it smart, like because nothing that came before it. I mean, sans the the Demonic Toys one, which is not canon. Everything else can still exist. It's not like it's a reboot where they erased everything. Right. They just kind of started over, but like kept everything still intact, which I liked.
Yeah. Now I will say, I did not like this one as much as I thought I would, because, again, I think it suffers from the same thing that Retro Puppet Master suffers from, and that it is such a slow start to get to the puppets. This one, again, I think it was almost an hour into the film before the puppets are actually killing anybody. So
it's also very Captain America-like. Didn't you get Captain America vibes?
Yeah, I mean...
Like, hey, he's too small. This time, instead of being too small to be in the army, he was
polio.
He was bum leg, but his brother, which AKA would have been like the Bucky character, did it, So it's all had that kind of thing.
And I like this. I kind of feel bad because, like, I feel like I should have liked this movie more because I like the story. I like the characters. I like the kind of whole plot line where he's trying to foil this Nazi plot, and he's discovered Toulon's puppet, so now he has a weapon to fight them with. And I did not dislike, I didn't dislike the acting in this one like I did in Retro Puppet Master. The puppets look now this one
is very for the time, like the time period. The acting was like, I mean, it wasn't great, but it was I
mean, for what these movies are, it was acceptable.
Yeah, but it had that whole like, gee, like it was the what was that? You ever see Amazon Women on the Moon? Remember, like like that. What was it? And no, it was, you know what? It was Amazon Women in the Mood. Like they did a fake kind of movie like that. But Billy Crystal referenced it. Remember, like when he in Forget Paris when he was talking about things, he goes, it's kind of like a guy named Brooklyn that goes and remember he goes, I can't wait to get back and eat a hot dog or so whatever like that. He did that.
Why
thing
does this always come back to Billy Crystal?
It always does because he's the center of the. He might be the center of the universe.
Yeah.
So far, we've returned to like many of his movies. You know, the Barry Pepper. I mean, think of the Barry Pepper. That's all because of Billy Crystal doing 61.
Oh yeah.
The whole comparison with City Slickers. Then you have the Forget Paris and everything's better after bread. So we got it all in there. But if you think about it, that's like what this kind of was with like that, like, like, oh, we want to go see that sweet gal of yours, And you're still my man.
Down to the cringy racist terms they used during World War II. That was
I don't think that would have played well even to, like, I mean, this was only
2010
11 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think by now you would not even get away with it, even in that kind of, because it wasn't like a docudrama or anything. It was like, I don't think that would fly today. The terms they used in that, regardless of it being a period piece. I don't think horror period pieces get the same kind of acceptance as like a drama period piece.
Because it feels like then you're just using it as an excuse to be able to say that stuff.
Right? Yeah. Like Tim Watley, becoming Jewish for the jokes, like in.
Now I will say, I did like the puppets in this one, even though they're not the original puppets. I thought they did a pretty decent job making them look pretty good, except for Tunneler. I did not like the goofy smile they put on Tunneler in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's like grinning in this one. But the rest of them look really good. Leech Woman looked really cool in this one. I really liked her looking.
She looked a little like more like sinister.
Yeah,
in some ways.
Yeah. I love Leech Woman. I think she's, especially when she starts vomiting leeches. I mean, it makes me laugh every single time. I don't care how many times I see it. Like, it just cracks me up. But
I just realized something though. Didn't she, like, I thought she was the one that got like burnt.
She did. She got destroyed in Puppet Master 2, technically.
So how is she back again? I forgot.
They just brought her back. Like, they didn't.
Okay,
they didn't
I was trying to remember that one. Like, I guess she was. Well, then again, it's like it's not like he can't. He could rebuild puppets. I guess it just doesn't now have Ilsa's soul in it, technically.
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't know. They never explained it, but I think when we were looking at the trivia for it, it said that they destroyed her because like some guy didn't like her. Like one of the studio heads didn't like her or whatever, so they destroyed her, and then the other guy brought her back because he did like her. So I don't know.
I think she's a good character because she's one of the few like the puppets out of there that has this extra mystical quality to her, like the fact that like she can spit out leeches. Like, where are they? Like, what are they? They're just not like sticky. She doesn't have an unlimited supply in there, right? So it's gotta there's gotta be some extra kind of magic with her in there, I mean, like, and the one thing I will say, it's funny, going back to Demonic Toys, is they actually, like, at some level, I'm like wondering, like, a 6-shooter, does he ever get like run out of bullets? But like, they kind of explain that. Of all things in Demonic Toys, they say that. Remember that he goes, oh, load him up.
Yeah.
Like Corey Feldman says something, oh, load him up with the bullets or something, whatever he says. But like, and as you'll see in the later one after we'll get to next week with Axis Rising, there's another one with kind of a lot of weaponry in there, and that's another one I want to know. Like, do some of these weapons magical as well, or are they just like kind of?
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean, I guess they never really explain how these puppets really, like, how does Torch have an unlimited supply of flame? I mean, I don't know. It's just But I will say I did not care for the new ninja puppet very much. He just doesn't have any personality whatsoever. And maybe I haven't seen the other two, so I don't know if he like plays a bigger role in the later ones or not, but he just, to me, like, he has no personality in this.
That's
at
it
all.
For him in this one. He dies at the end though, doesn't he? He fades out. He comes back, but then fades out.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I don't think he's not really. I don't think he's not in the next one, from what I remember. But he's he's. I mean, the only reason I didn't mind his character. Like, overall as a puppet, he's kind of boring looking.
Right.
Like, he didn't have a cool personality as a puppet, but I liked the whole. The way the use of him, because how his brother was always saying how he's gonna be sneaky, and it was kind of like there was like a little bit of charm for me in there, that they had that like kind of like, okay, him and his brother got to fight together in this, which was what his dream was. He still kind of got it in a way.
Yeah, that
when
was
he
kind
says,
of
"A party
cool.
you live on." So I kind of like that it had this movie. No pun intended, but it had a little bit of soul to it. It had a little bit of heart. It had, there was a really attempt to kind of bring like what I kind of loved about the some of the earlier ones that had that. That like kind of substance to it. And while it didn't hit as well as the other ones, I still kind of like this trilogy. And I actually kind of like this one a little more after seeing the next one. It's one of these ones where I think you kind of have to see as a trilogy because it kind of like they continue right into the next. Like the next one is
that's
like
why we
right
hated to
after
split this one up like we
Yeah,
did.
I
But
mean,
we kind
in
of were forced
hindsight,
to.
Yeah, in hindsight, I wish we didn't, and we probably could have just done Demonic Toys probably at the end of it, could have just totally moved it aside. Remember, we weren't going to include it at all. So we probably, in hindsight, if I would have known the series better, we should have just done that. So it's like, well, you know what, we'll do this as a bonus since it's not really part of the franchise. How do you say it? Canonically? Canonically?
Yeah, I don't know.
Canonically? I don't know. Like, canonly. Canonically. And, but I kind of like the way this story's going because remember I said I love that like the whole like Nazi revenge against kind of thing. And you know what I think I think the fact that it kind of mimicked Captain America kind of gave it that little Marvel superhero kind of feel to it where it was like it kind of you could tell they were kind of building a little bit of a new story going on and it wasn't going to just be a one-off. And so I kind of like this one. It's funny, and one of the things I'd say I didn't like in it was I think that there were some like I think probably because the over the top like usage and caricatures of some characteristics they use of the characters very like insensitive kind of thing.
Yes, definitely.
And so that I find myself now just kind of like cringing. Back then maybe because back then when everyone was it's such a joke, it's okay. But now you can't there's just now the world has changed dramatically.
Yes, it's very cringy.
You are everyone your eye opens to everything like that, and I can't so it's like to me I was like I kind of found myself being distracted a little with the cringe, especially the what was her name the main the villain woman Ozu. I like her character was just like it's almost like I'm surprised in 2010 they were still doing that kind of a stereotype of that kind of a character.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a little distracting to me. But and it's funny too because the Nazis have been so one note in this movie, most of it, and and it's kind of like, but there was and it's familiar with there's an evil Nazi scientist doing some kind of thing. I mean, that's so right out of Marvel and Hydra and all that stuff. But but still, I just kind of liked where this was going, and I think you will. Did you watch the next one yet?
No, God no.
So I think
barely
you'll like
watched
that
this
one next. Because this one really sets up that one great, and I think I watched them back to back, right, like literally right in a row today, just to try and get a little bit ahead. I think this one ended up sitting better with me. Like I'm wondering if I would have taken a break by a couple of days, I would have maybe not felt this way. But I think I think in hindsight we should have done this Axis trilogy in a group.
Well, I'm gonna give my ranking of these four because we as you guys know, we've been ranking the set that we watched for the episode with each other, but we're going to have a final ranking of all the films at the end. So as a set for this one, I had Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys on top because I just thought it was the most entertaining of all of them. I had Puppet Master Axis of Evil next, although I will say, based on what you're saying with the other Axis movies, I may end up putting it above Demonic Toys. In the long run, but for now, just for this set, I enjoyed Demonic Toys more. Puppet Master Axis of Evil was definitely the next. Retro Puppet Master was third, and Puppet Master Legacy was fourth.
Yeah, so I'm pretty I think I'm kind of the we might be not exactly opposite, but so I think until I saw Axis of Evil is since it's really sitting well with me right now, I think that's gonna go number one for me. Then I'm going to do Retro Puppet Master at 2. And I know you can think I'm crazy, but right now I have to do it. Legacy comes next, even though it's not really a movie.
Oh my gosh.
and then Demonic Toys one, just because I will say I will try and rewatch that again before my final rankings, just to give it another shot.
Okay.
Maybe being further removed from 3, I might be able to accept this more. But yeah, and like the only reason, like I said, I'm giving Legacy the edge as a thing. Like probably towards the like overall rankings is probably going to be second to last in the grand scheme of things. I can probably predict that now just because of it not being the movie. But I think for these 4 though, it definitely it gets respect for me because, like I said, it was a perfectly placed for my benefit in this one. It was a nice palate cleanser to like get a refresher of it, and it was a clip at an hour and like 13 minutes. So it was like it's a nice like break to kind of like watch what you've watched, just to recap a little as much as you could and say, oh, okay, oh yeah, okay, and like see some of the scenes that I liked redone again. Like you got to see creepy like Toulon man puppet from part 2 again.
Well, see, I like those parts, but I hated when I had to sit through the retro Puppet Master parts that I had literally just watched an hour before.
Yeah, that was awkward because there was a lot of that.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god,
I will say a frustrating part of this because you're like, oh my god, we literally but I mean, if you think of everyone else though, they had seen it 4 years ago.
That's true. That's what's funny about it.
Just because we saw it 4 minutes ago, the original audience, it was 4 years in between.
Oh my gosh. All right, well,
so yeah, it's kind of funny. We can laugh at it though, right? As long as we can laugh at these series, is fun. But overall, I got to tell you, I am still having such a ball with this series. I almost like feel bad that like I feel like just because of life situations that this series, I feel like we're we're like finding awkward times and we're kind of like rushing through parts of it.
Well, behind the scenes, guys, you don't realize how normally in our summer SLAYCATIONs, a franchise like this is difficult to do even when we're like firing on all cylinders, because you're having to watch so many movies in such a short amount of time, and then you got to record, and then you got to watch the next set of movies to get ready for the next recording. Well, in this case, because of my move, we got behind the 8 ball like from the start. So we were literally in a position where we were having to, like tonight, we're recording before the night before the episode releases. I mean, that's how behind we are. So
and like watching it, I was literally watching the movies today before, like hours before you do it, because my poor little Obi was sick yesterday, so we I kind of was distracted. I was worried about him. He was so we had to take him to the vet. We think he ate something bad. He ate it was a dog cookie made, but it had some icing on it. And we usually give him, whenever we give him something like that, we give him pieces of it, but we gave him the whole one. And I think it got him sick. I think there was something in there that just did not agree with him. So poor little guy, we had to take him to the vet. So of course I was worried all day, and kind of just like he was, they had to give him a shot for his nausea, and it was so sad. He was just not, and he usually, if you know him, like if you just see him in pictures, he's always like happy and jumping around and playing, and just to see him like this, it was like so like heartbreaking to see him not feeling good. Thank God, right as of now we're recording, he's he's eating now again, and he's it's like we took him for his walk, and he's got much more pep in his step now, and he's getting back to his usual playful Obi. But so it was hard to I was planning to watch all the movies yesterday and try and get ahead today, but it just didn't work out that way. So yeah, we're really behind it. And the funny thing is, we planned it that way. We figured it would be easier, but Kim's move got delayed. So I think that's part of that.
Yeah, that was
what
part
we
of
didn't
it too.
expect, because you were supposed to move during like the shorter franchises.
I was originally supposed to move during the shorter ones, and then of course we've got interviews that we're juggling around. Yep. So yeah, it looks like we're gonna finally, we're closing this one up with the next episode. We'll be done with the Puppet Master series. I think it's gonna be nice to get back to a single movie, single episode type format. And I'm also, I really miss our first chops and things, because there's stuff you watch on the side that you want to talk about that we can't really do here. So
and I think we should say we're going to take a break. I think after this, we're going to take a 1 week break in between that and our 200s to make sure our 200th is done properly.
Right. Yes.
And I think we have an interview this week that what we could probably do is possibly even save that for the week
off.
So you don't lose a week.
We can do that.
We'll figure that out. But either if we don't, maybe we'll record like a quick mini-sode or something, just to maybe like a recap of the SLAYCATION, like one of those SLAYCATION recap little short things in there.
Yeah.
But we're not going to we're definitely going to have a break between our full 200th episode and our last SLAYCATION, whether it be filled with an interview or a mini-sode or something, because we want to do the 200th episode correctly. We don't want to do that. And we have a bunch of other little, like we said, other little mini things in there, like we're going to do our Halloween Horror Nights preview. We actually have to start already prepping our the Halloween challenge. So we got a lot coming up. So it's like, well, that week break of not doing the 200th episode will help us get that really good 200th episode in there.
Yeah.
I know we have some surprise guests for that, so we need to get cracking on that one.
Yeah. Let's just give us a chance to reset after all this move stuff, so that we're not recording from behind and we're kind of recording on schedule again. So that'll be nice.
The whole point of moving that whole Monday. Yeah. Oh, but we almost forgot. I have the beer pairing.
Yeah, we do have a beer pairing, so we definitely need to check out what you've got for Puppet Master Part 3. Yeah, so I noticed, since a lot of it, especially because the Axis series is taking place during World War II, is right. But so I found a beer. It's 1940s lager, and it's actually from 1940s brewing. Which happens to be in Holbrook, New York. It's on Long Island. Actually, I used to live in Holbrook at one point. But Julie and I have actually been to this brewery. It's a really fun brewery, and they have some really good beers at it. So I thought this one would be appropriate. This one is 4.7%. It's a lager, so it's very light. And it's here's their description. It says, our take on an old school lager, an easy drinking beer made with two-row, corn, and Munich malt. See, there's the Munich. And it says hopped with cluster and fuggles. I don't know what that is, but it sounds pretty good.
They are two types of hops, and I think I looked them up because I'm like, what the hell is a cluster and fuggles? And actually, there's a lot of beers named cluster and fuggles, but they're two types of hops. So I double checked to make sure that I was gonna read that correctly, and it wasn't some weird slang term I didn't know. But yeah, they're just two types of hops.
I grabbed the Southern Tier variety pack yesterday because it had some stuff I had never tried before. And Southern Tier is always solid. They make my favorite pumpkin beer, which is Pumpkin. But their other beers are pretty solid too. They had a really good one, which is called oh my gosh, now I'm going to forget the name of it. But it's something Fog IPA, but it's a hazy, juicy IPA, and that one was really, really good. I
always am a fan of hazy IPAs. So.
Yeah, let me see what this variety pack is here. It's the overpacked. If you guys see it in the grocery store, it's Lakeshore Fog, hazy juicy IPA, really, really good. Oh. And tonight they have a couple of session beers in there. One of them I'm drinking tonight, which is called 8 Days a Week, which I like because I'm a Beatles fan. And
I was gonna say, do you sing when you?
Yeah. This one, this is not an IPA. This is a blonde ale, so it's a little light at 4.7, but it's really, really good. But I would definitely recommend that Lakeshore Fog. That's a really, really good one if you like juicy IPAs.
Yeah, I gotta somehow get a hold of one for you. I don't know if they still make it, because I know you're a big 6 Point fan, and they have a great hazy IPA called Puff that they release every year.
I believe I've had that before. Yeah.
Oh, have you? Have you got it? Yeah. Okay, good. Because I was gonna say that's a you type of beer. I know you and Kev really.
I feel like you brought me one of those one time. I think that's how I got it somehow.
You know what? I might have. Yeah. You're right. I may have brought you that one in one of our beer exchanges we did.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, we will see you back here next week. We got a fun interview coming up for you, possibly. We got, as we said, the 200th. We'll keep you more in the loop on social media about the break as we figure out, when that will be and all the stuff about the 200th. Meanwhile, if you have,
remember, participate in our 200. Send us in a message or even email or audio clip or anything you want to, or any questions you want to ask. Send us some cool stuff so we can play.
Yeah, if you don't want to put your voice on air, you can definitely send us an email or with listener questions, or just comments about the show, reviews, whatever you want to, anything you want to say, we can read it out loud on the air. So that'll be a lot of fun.
And we'll make Tim read it. So whatever you write will come out dulcety.
All right, guys. So enjoy your Puppet Master adventures. I know I certainly am. Highs or lows, I'm still enjoying going through the franchise, and we will see you back here next week.
You got it.